Hi and welcome to Maths with Megan. In today's video we are looking at solving one-step equations with multiplying and dividing. In our previous two videos we had a look at solving one-step equations with addition and then separately subtraction. So just as with the previous two videos, we are going to circle anything on the same side of the equal sign as the x that isn't x. So if we split on the right side of our equal sign here, on the same side as the x, 2 is the thing that is with our x, but isn't the x, okay? And what we need to think about is, what does 2x mean? We knew x add 3 was adding. We knew x take away 3 was taking away, subtracting. So what does 2x mean? Well, 2x is 2 times x. And we want to do the opposite of timesing. We want to do the inverse to get rid of that times by 2. And the inverse of timesing something by 2 is dividing it by 2. So what we are going to do is we're going to divide both sides by 2. Because our goal is to find out what x is equal to on its own on the left-hand side. When we divide the left-hand side by 2, we get rid of that 2 times x, and we're left with just x by itself. That's our goal, that's what we want. And what we have to do on the other side is we have 6 divided by 2. So we just need to solve that last step, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So x is 3. If we think back to our original equation, 2 times x was 6. So if x is 3, 2 times 3 is 6. So that works, doesn't it? The next one, 5x equals 15. So remember, 5x means 5 times x. So what we want to do is we want to circle anything that's on the same side of the equal sign as the x, which isn't the x. That means I'm going to circle the 5, the times by 5. How do I get rid of times 5? We have to do the inverse, the opposite of timesing by 5, and that is dividing by 5. And because this is a balancing method, we have to do the same thing to both sides. If I'm dividing one side by 5, we just divide the other by 5. When we do that, that allows me to get rid of this times by 5, so I am left with just x on its own. And on the other side, we get the 15 divided by 5. So last step is to work out what 15 divided by 5 is, and x is 3 again. Okay, next one, 12x equals 108. So if we just remember, what does 12x actually mean? Well, that's 12 times x. And how do I get rid of a times by 12? We have to divide by 12. So we circle the 12, that's what we want to get rid of. We do the inverse to both sides, dividing by 12. That gets rid of that to leave us just x on its own. And on this side, we've got our 108, but we've got to divide it by 12. When we do that, we're left with 9. So x is 9. Here are 4 questions for you to pause the video and have a go at. For each one, you want to circle whatever is with the x. And to get rid of it, we're going to have to do the opposite. In this case, they are all going to be dividing by. Okay, answer time. For the first one, x is 3. That's because to get rid of a times by 4, we divide by 4. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. This time we divide by 10. When we do that, we find x is 9. Next one, we are dividing by 3 to get rid of this times by 3. So we find x is 13. And lastly, we've got a times by 50 here, so we're going to have to divide by 50. To find x is 5. Moving on now to dividing, our last part now of these solving one-step equations. We've got x over 7 equals 3. All this means x over 7, it's like a fraction. It just means x divided by 7. And again, we want to get rid of whatever is on the same side as the x. That isn't the x. So what's joined our x? Well, it's this divide by 7. How do you think we get rid of a divide by 7? We're going to times by 7 because we're going to do the opposite. We are going to times both sides by 7. When we do that, that allows us to get rid of this divide by 7, leaving just x on its own. And on the other side, we've got our 3 still, which we have to times by 7. 3 times 7 is 21, so x is 21. If we think back to the beginning, we knew that our x, our something, divided by 7 was 3. And if we have a look, 21 divided by 7 is 3, so it works. X divided by 3 equals 12. What am I going to circle this time? I'm going to circle the divide by 3. To get rid of a divide by 3, we do a times by 3 because we have to do the inverse. That leaves x on its own, and on the other side we've got 12 times 3. 12 times 3 is 36, so x is 36. Let's try one more together. X divided by 5 equals 6. What am I going to circle? I'm going to circle the divide by 5. How do I get rid of a divide by 5? I do the inverse, that's timesing by 5. We have to do that to both sides. That allows me to get rid of the divide by 5, leaving the x on its own. And then we have 6 times by 5 on the other side. X is equal to 30. And just to finish off, 4 questions for you to have a go at on your own. Pause the video and then rejoin when you're ready for the answers. Our first one, x is 16. We have to times both sides by 2. Question 2. X is 30. We have to times both sides by 10. Question 3. X equals 63. We have to times both sides by 9. And lastly, x is equal to 450. We have to times both sides by 150. Well done if you managed to get those right. That's the last on solving one-step equations with addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. In our next video, we are going to look at squares and square roots. Slightly more difficult, we need to be comfortable with our squares and square roots for the next video.